Okay, good afternoon. Shall we start? And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for attending our online class today. I really do appreciate your effort regardless of the situation that we have today, the typhoon that we're experiencing. Your efforts in attending will not be put into vain. Nonetheless, I also would like to appreciate the effort of our process observer who is here with us, Mr. Melvin Salazar, Ma'am Ray Tizon, and the Department Head of Senior High School from Summer National School, Ma'am Joy Lagrosa. Mr. Melvin Salazar is our group head rather of the General Academic Strand. And Ma'am Tizon is our group head also of the Humanities and Social Sciences Strand. And our department head, Ma'am Joy Lagrosa, is again the department head of the Senior High School Department. Let us greet them a warm welcome, a warm round of applause as well. Let us greet them, everyone. A good afternoon.
Good afternoon po.
Good
Good
afternoon po.
afternoon po.
Okay. Let me check my audio first. Okay, so before we start, let me ask you first to observe proper etiquette. Let me share to you first my screen. And we're also live via YouTube, our personal account. So those who will not be able to attend, we will be having our recording and we are also live in our YouTube, in which we have also our students who are watching right now. Again, welcome to our class in Practical Research 1, our online class. This will be another discussion from and continuation from our last discussion in our online class last time. Nakikita na akong screen. Okay, so let us wait lang while I am flashing my screen. Okay, once again, welcome to our class in Practical Research 1. Before we start, let me ask you first to observe proper etiquette. Please mute your microphones and observe deference as we start our class, our lesson with a prayer via an audio-visual presentation. Let us feel the presence of the Lord. Let's bow down our heads as we start our class with an opening prayer.
Yes, diri po kami nabatiyain.
Sorry, nakamute nga na ako ng microphone. Okay, good afternoon. How was your day? Again, how was your day? Kumusta ang inyong mga adlaw yan na nga panahon nga medyo mauran-uran. May tikita yan na bagyo. Nonetheless, good afternoon. How was your day?
Okay lang po, sir.
Okay lang.
Okay lang po, sir.
How about your learning activity sheet? Kumusta?
Almost done na po.
Almost done. So I expect that you will be able to submit your activities, that was given by your subject teachers this week. Okay, so today, before we proceed with our discussion, I will be checking your attendance. You can write your name in our chat box so that I can also monitor those who are here with us. I will be also recording our session for this afternoon. You can write in the chat box. You can write also in the chat box your names, or you can write present, sir, so that the transcript that we will be having after the recording will also be sent. Makikita dito kung hirahin na nag-attend this afternoon. And also, I will be asking your permission that we will be having the recording for today's session for our class this afternoon, so that those who will not be able to attend, because we cannot deny the fact, because of various circumstances, the weather that we have today, some will not be able to attend. But we are also live in our YouTube, in my YouTube personal account. So those who will not be able to attend will also have a recording both in our Zoom and in our YouTube. I can also be sending the recording in our Google Classroom or our Facebook group. Same goes in our Messenger. Same goes also with our learning materials, and for other references, the activities that we will be sending, those who will not be able to attend will also be able to comply. Okay? So do you have an assignment?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you submit your assignment as well in our Messenger or in our Google Classroom? May mga nag-submit na. I guess may mga nag-submit na. May nakita na ako atong
Yeah.
Google Classroom na may
Ito na po,
nag-submit.
sir.
Yes po, tapos na po, sir.
Okay,
Ito
thank
na
you
po,
so
sir.
much. Thank you so much. So I guess that we are now ready to proceed with our discussion. But before that, let me give you first an activity. This is related in preparation to our discussion this morning. This afternoon rather. Okay, so this is a very famous, familiar game. This is what we call the crossword puzzle. So I will be here 5 questions. We have hints, and I would like to ask you to participate and try to answer as much as you can the different questions being asked. So number 1, this is a conversation with a purpose, or also known as professional conversation. What do you think is the answer?
Interview, sir.
Interview po, sir.
Interview. Let us try to find out. Now, let us try to see. Interview. Okay, perfectly fit. So when we talk about interview, that states it is a conversation with a purpose or professional conversation. Let us try to see later on if your answers are correct. So number 2 has list of questions, but there's a scope for the participants to raise issues that the researcher has not anticipated. That is
Semi-structured, sir.
Semi-structured po, sir.
pardon. You can also answer in our chat box. Okay, we have semi-structured. Sure. Okay, for the number 3, we have no fixed questions or strongly participant-led. That is
Structured, sir.
unstructured. Very good. Structured. Let us see. Okay, perfectly fit. Number 4, these are questions and responses that are already predetermined.
Structured, sir.
Structured.
Okay, so if we have not determined or not predetermined, you have also predetermined. So, balikan nila, that is structured. And last is for number 5, moral
Ethics
principles.
po.
Okay, very excited mag-answer. Very good. The correct answer for that is ethics. Let us try to see. These are moral principles that govern a person's behavior or conducting of an activity. That is ethics.
Okay, very good. Indeed, let us try to check if your answers are correct. Well done. Your score is 100%. That means all of your answers are correct. Okay, so these terms will be used later. Take note because this will be tackled all throughout our discussion in our class this afternoon. So take note of these words, and I hope that you will be able to understand as we go on with the discussion the importance of these words that we are presented. Now, at this moment, before we dig deeper with our discussion, before we dig deeper with our discussion, let us first have a review to make sure that we are now ready to continue with our topic. So I want you to go to padlet.com. I will be also sending to you the link. Okay, I will be sending to you the link in our chat box. So I want you to go to that link, or you can also make use of the barcode that is in our review. You can make use of that barcode. You can be directly moved into our website. Okay, so we already have responses. I guess let us try to see from the answer of Ms. Velarde. We have discussed about the 3 types of observation. Very good. So according to Mr. Paul Pedraza, we also discussed about on how to establish recording method. That is very comprehensive, very good. And what are the 3 types of observation? Controlled observation, naturalistic, and participant observation. We have also discussed about observation as a data collection method. Okay, we also discussed about how to conduct observations for research and many more, according to Edgar Bryant. And we also have various responses, which is indeed a recap, which is indeed the topic that we have discussed last meeting. So thank you so much. So I guess that we're already prepared and ready to move on with our discussion this afternoon. Ready na?
Yes,
Yes
sir.
po, sir.
Okay, very much ready. Sige, let us move on with our topic. Before that, I want to ask you first a question. What comes first into your mind when we talk about formal conversation? What is the difference between a formal conversation on a casual conversation? What are the things that comes into your mind? You can answer through unmuting your microphone, or you can also write it in the chat box.
Sir.
Okay. Sige, Mr. Pedraza.
Sir, in a informal conversation, you tend to be in your usual and comfortable manner and voice tone, and the topics are mostly broad and open and more personal. While in formal conversations, the topics are limited, and I think the the discussion will most likely be based on facts.
Okay, thank you so much for that very comprehensive answer. Let me try to repeat what you have said. You have said that when we talk about casual, it's like you are comfortable with the person whom you are talking. On the other hand, when you talk about formal conversation, kumbaga, we have a topic. We have a goal on having conversation with that someone. Am I right?
Yes po, sir.
Okay, very good. Any other idea?
Sir,
Okay, Ms. Tolop.
in formal conversation, sir, the speaker is more likely prepared than iya igayakan, while an informal conversation po, more likely spontaneous la po. Yun lang,
Okay,
sir.
okay, thank you so much. When you talk about informal, parang kuan, spontaneous, tama? But on the other hand, we talk formal, we are prepared and we have also allotted an effort in making something or the topic that we are up to discuss with someone. Tama?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, very good. All your answers are correct. And those are the things that we need to go and we need to know as we go with our topic today. Before that, let us first unlock the objectives that we need to tackle, we need to have in our discussion this afternoon. Let me ask Mr. Hailo, can you please read our objective for this afternoon?
Session's objectives. At the end of the discussion, all of you are expected to, number one, collect data through interview. Number two, identify important considerations needed before interview takes place. Lastly, number three, plan and execute interview using proper protocols.
Okay, thank you so much. So our goal and objective for this afternoon is for you not just to collect interview, but also to execute the proper interview process. We also have our contextualized competency or objective. May I call in Ms. Velarde to please read?
Contextualize competency. Number 1, evaluate and make interview questions in mother tongue. Number 2, create contextualized interview questions based on the research questions.
Okay, so what you are going to do, you are also going to create an interview which is made through verbal and through mother tongue so that we can appreciate how can we interview properly with person in our locality, and also create contextualized interview questions based on the research questions that will be presented. Now, since we have talked about a formal conversation, it is safe to say that we move first with our first activity. I will be presenting to you a video presentation about a process in having a formal conversation. And that, my friend, my students, is what we call interview. So let us first have and try to watch the video presentation. And during the video presentations, we have questions presented. So I want everyone to answer, participate as we play a video presentation.
Sir, muted po.
Hi, I'm Liam Arian. We talked on the phone.
Hi, Erin. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm glad you could come meet with me.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
How are you doing today?
Doing well. Doing well. How about you?
I'm good. Long day, but
I feel ya.
gotta make it through. So, I'll be interviewing you about your experience with problem-based learning,
Okay.
as it is during your graduate year. I'm looking to understand how this process of learning affected or did not affect your interpersonal skills, and primarily team working. So this is just a preliminary interview. It shouldn't take more than 10 minutes. And I just wanted to let you know there's no right or wrong answers. Take your time with your responses. Just all I really want is your opinions and experiences about problem-based learning. So if you have any questions, I'll save some time at the end. We can go over those. Okay? All right. So this interview will also be audio recorded,
Okay.
just so you know. And that will be used to track the information during the study. If you don't mind, I'm going to test the recorder before we begin.
Okay.
All right. Working good. Okay. So I also ask that you sign this informed consent. So this is for
Okay.
being audio recorded and for being in this study.
Okay.
Thank you. And just so you know, the information in here is going to be anonymous and confidential. And after the study is completed, it'll be completely destroyed.
Okay.
Okay. So if you have any If at any time during the study you no longer wish to be part of it, just let me know
Okay.
and we can stop.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, ready to start?
Sure. Sounds good.
Okay. So
Okay, for the first question, what can you say about the approach of the interviewer? Anyone?
Sir,
Okay, that you are?
Bonggalon, sir.
Okay, Miss Bongalon.
Sir, the interviewer introduced herself to the interviewee.
Okay, so the interviewer introduced herself, tama, to the interviewee. That is a good observation. Any other idea?
Sir, alo,
Okay, okay.
Sir, carefully explain pulat niyan conditions such as an in iya information nga makukuha is madi-discard after the research. Tapos
Okay, the what we call confidentiality, di ba? Disclosing the information after the research has been done. So for the purpose of conversation, afterwards, for the purpose of the study lang, afterwards the conversation will also be deleted. Okay, that is a good observation. So that those who are presented is Miss Bongalon and Mr. Pedraza. Okay, I will be submitting it. Let us go to the next
So
part.
describe how problem-based learning is being used in your curriculum.
Okay, so problem-based learning is being used in conjunction with our class called Advanced Clinical Reasoning, and basically it's being used to give us this hands-on simulated learning experience. So what we do is we have our own, each group has our own patient with their own diagnosis, their own story behind, like they're all different patients. And what we do is our professor Tam will simulate that patient each week, and we go into the session as if we were in the clinic doing evaluations, interventions. We'll talk with family, talk with other staff members, things like that. So it's giving us a really good opportunity to gain hands-on experience with patients. So in a simulated environment.
So how do you get to talk to the family members and staff?
What happens is Tam, our professor, will give us vouchers and say, you can have a 5-minute session to talk with a healthcare professional or family member of choice, and then she will then act like that that person. So
and how many of you are in a group together?
We have 4 per group.
Okay. All right. So tell me what you think are the advantages and disadvantages of problem-based learning in your graduate curriculum.
I would say there's a lot of advantages. Just the fact that we're getting that, like I said, that hands-on experience, because other than that, in the classroom you don't always get that unless you're in fieldwork, and this year we actually don't have fieldwork. Also, I think it's a really good opportunity to work as a group because we all kind of bounce ideas off each other. We're able to gain perspectives from each other, things that I may not think about that someone else would, or vice versa. So that's really helpful. And also it gives us different experiences. For example, to prepare us for this summer, we all are going into our second level 2 fieldwork. So, if you've done mental health or you haven't done mental or physical dysfunction, if you haven't done one of them and you flip-flop them, like my patient is a phys-dys patient, so that's going to help me for this summer, hopefully. And it's also another advantage is to learn a little more about certain diagnoses, different interventions, because we have to kind of research it and look further into it. So, as for disadvantages, there aren't many disadvantages. The only thing I can think of is that it is a simulated situation, so it may not be as accurate of an interpretation as you might be in the real life situation. Like I know when I'm in front of my professor or I'm trying to act, it's not as real as I'm going to be working as a team and thinking through problems together and learning from each other, gaining new perspectives. So I think the teamwork aspect will really help translate those skills as well.
Okay. Well, that's all I have for you.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for me?
Nope, I don't.
All right. Well, if you ever think of anything, feel free.
Okay, for the next question, based on the interview proper, what can you say to the questioning approach of the interviewer? Anyone?
Sir, the
Sir?
questions
Okay,
was
Miss Tolo.
questions
Pardon?
was prepared beforehand po.
Okay, so the questions upon interviewing the interviewer, we can see that she is already prepared. So she has already questions prepared beforehand. Any other idea? Thank you so much, Miss Tolo.
Sir,
Miss Velarde, okay.
the interview questions employed were open-ended. With these questions po, in-depth information about the research participants are collected.
Okay, very comprehensive as well. The interview process or the interview questioning, you have said about open-ended questions. So what do we mean by open-ended questions? What do you mean by open-ended questions? These are
Not answerable po by yes or no.
okay. So these are questions that we can explore more by the answers of the participants, and it is not restricted by only answers through yes or no, and through Likert scale, so on and so forth. Okay, thank you so much for answer. Let me list those who have answered: Miss Tolop and Miss Velarde. Okay.
Feel free to call me.
Okay.
And I'll be calling you again just to verify everything you said or if I have any additional questions for you.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time, Emily.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, for the last question, what can you say to the overall presentation from the video presented?
Sir, at the first part po, the interviewer introduced herself formally, and at the end of the conversation, she thanked her participant.
Okay, so she have an approach in which she introduced herself and her study as well, introduction of the interview process. Then afterwards, she ended up with a thank you and also the confidentiality. And if she is interested with the content of the study, it will also be given. Okay, thank you so much. That's it. I guess that we are already indeed prepared with our discussion today. But before we proceed, let me appreciate the presence again of our senior high school department head, Ma'am Joy Lagrosa. Can we say good afternoon to our department head?
Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon po.
Good afternoon po.
Okay, good afternoon, ma'am. Thank you for attending our class for this afternoon. Thank you for being our process observer as well. Okay, so we are done with the interview, the mock interview that were presented. I guess it is safe to say that we will discuss now the topic that we have today, which is all about interview. What do you mean by interview? When we talk about interview, these are conversations with a purpose. Just like what you have answered earlier about the questions and the activities that we've had, according to Kahn and Cannell, cited from the study of Marshall and Rossman, 2006, it is a conversation with a purpose. And supported by the study of Vail, 2007, it is also talking about professional conversation. So the goal of interview is not just to communicate with someone, but also we have a sole purpose to get an idea and information necessary, for example, in our study. So the goal of getting the participants' experiences and perspectives to something is one of the goals of the interview. Now, when to use interviews? First is when we cannot observe behavior, feelings, or how people interpret the world around them. For past events that are impossible to replicate, for example, those that are from the past school event or past catastrophic event, or for example, the old normal. An example as well to that is the very famous phenomena that we have experienced here in Region 8, especially in summer and Leyte. I know that you are familiar with Yolanda. Diba? Those who have experienced the phenomena, the situation, they have so many stories to share. And we cannot answer them through merely observation. And we cannot replicate, and we do not want to replicate that phenomena. That is why those who have experienced the best thing that we can do to gather the information that we want in our study, especially if we are talking about certain phenomena, tragic incidents, mga happy events that can only be shared through the feelings of our participants, we can do that through interview. Okay, can you please cite again some examples as well to these various situations or circumstances that we can give as an example that we need to conduct an interview?
Sir.
Yes, Mr. Pedraza.
Christmas po, sir.
Okay, Christmas, di ba? It's dili lang tanan puro mga tragic. We can also include mga instances or situations, experiences that is memorable to us. Christmas is also one of it. So we cannot, although Christmas is yearly, we cannot replicate the things that we have done in last Christmas. So we can also make use of that. Any other idea? Thank you so much, Mr. Pedraza.
Sir,
Any other-
wildfires po, sir.
Okay, Miss Velarde, that your example is wildfire. Very good. That is also a tragic phenomena. Any other idea?
Sir, accidents po or unexpected situations.
Accidents or unexpected situations. Very good. And those that you have given, as much as we want to escape or to prevent those various circumstances, what do you think are the subject areas that we can align or integrate this so that kahit papaano we can we can be aligned or we can be enlightened so how so that we can prevent these various phenomena? Anyone? What do you think are the subject areas?
Sir, disaster risk reduction, sir.
Okay, we have, yes, in senior high school, we have what we call DRRR or disaster readiness and risk reduction. So we can also make use of that subject so that kahit papaano, with these various phenomena, we don't want everyone to experience this. So we will be able to prevent this through attending this subject. Any other idea? Ano pa?
PVOX.
PVOX, yes, PVOX as well. And we have
NDRRMC, sir.
in the RRMC and okay, so those are also discussed in our subject Earth Sciences and the RRR. Thank you so much for that very participative answers that you've had. Thank you so much. Now let us proceed to our discussion. Now, since we already know that there are some restrictions and considerations when we conduct interview, we should also know the different types of interview. We have three types of interview. We have structured, we have semi-structured, and unstructured interview. When we talk about structure, just like our activity earlier, your answers are correct indeed. When we talk about structured interview, these are questions and responses that are already predetermined by the researcher. So the participant or the interview, we will just need to choose among all the answers that is given by the researcher. It is most common on quantitative interview. Next is semi-structured. Semi-structured, your answer again is correct. The researcher has a list of questions, but there is a scope for the participants to raise issues so that the conversation will be give and take between the interviewer and the interviewee. This is most common to qualitative interview. So this is what we are trying to have in our activity. We will be making interviews commonly and mostly from the semi-structured. But we also have what we call unstructured interview. When we talk about unstructured interview, compared to that of the semi and structured interview, unstructured has no questions presented before. So may dala kita themes or topics that can be discussed by the participant. So it is more on strongly participant-led. Here are some examples of structured interview. The questions are already predetermined. So do you enjoy using our product? Simple. The answers are yes, no, I don't know. So on a scale of 1 to 5, rate our service delivery. That can be 1 is the lowest and 5 is the highest, or 1 is the poor and 5 is the excellent. On how often. Those are just like what Ms. Velarde answered earlier, questions that are closed-ended. Kumbaga, meron na tayong mga predetermined answers. On the other hand, sa semi-structured, open-ended, we are open to the informations given by our participant. What was your high school experience? How would you describe your experience? What challenges are you facing? How important do you think? What strategies do you use? So these are open-ended questions. But we also have unstructured interview, which is more common to narrative inquiry. Since we have already discussed the different research designs, narrative inquiry, we have already discussed that narrative inquiry is focused on the stories of our participants. And one of the method and approach that we can use is an interview through unstructured interview. So you just need to ask the story. So can you please tell me about your story? And the rest, the participant will be the one to discuss and will be the one to share his or her own story. Describe your ideal job, what accomplishment are you most proud of and why. So this is more on participant-led. Kumbaga, sa semi-structured, we can give follow-up, so on and so forth. Sa unstructured, it is more on the participant giving more informations. So these are the modes of interview. We have face-to-face interview and we have virtual interview. Okay, so you can see that we also have virtual interview. These are also common from our data gathering before pa magka-pandemic. So we have face-to-face interview, which is very common and most ideal to collect data. But because of the situation that we have today, we make use of virtual. So virtual is already used before pa. It is reiterated and emphasized lang today because of the protocols that we need to follow, such as no face-to-face. That is why we make use of virtual as an interview method. That can be through telephone, through email, or online, just like what we are doing, the teleconferencing, through Zoom, through Google Meet, and so on and so forth. Now, question. In conducting an interview, is it okay to directly ask your participants that you will be conducting an interview with them?
No, sir.
The answer is no. Why is that so? Why were you able to say that no is the answer?
Sir, the interviewer must handle a consent form po to the research participant for the research subject.
Okay, very good. Before conducting an interview, whether that be a simple interview or an interview in your school or division, you need to have what we call a proper protocol or informed consent. That is why we need to follow steps in conducting a qualitative research interview. When we talk about QLR, my dear students, that is what we call qualitative research. So QNR, quantitative. We make use of QLR as an acronym. So that is qualitative research interview. According to Criswell 2007. So we need to follow steps. It is not enough that we just go directly with someone, ask them an interview without giving informed consent or process consent. So we need to follow the steps. Number one, decide whether interviews are appropriate. The first thing that you need to take into consideration is ask yourself, kailangan ba natin mag-conduct an interview or observation should be enough? Or do we need to have a documentary analysis? Good thing about this, my dear students, in qualitative research, interview is commonly used to all research design. So whether that be PHENO, whether that be case study, whether that be narrative inquiry, we make use of interview because the purpose of qualitative study is to get the experiences of our participants. And we cannot get their experiences by just giving survey. That is why we ask them directly. We ask permission. We communicate to them so that we will be able to firsthand know their experiences to a certain phenomena. Okay, after choosing, yes, we can make use of interview. The next question that you need to ask yourself is, what will my interview questions be? Is it structured, semi-structured, or unstructured? Or what type will you use in your focus group discussion, which will be the next topic in our discussion, will be the next topic in our lesson or one-on-one interview. And next is, dyan napapasok si informed consent, the letter of permission. You need to invite your participants. And upon inviting, you need to give a proper consent. And we have what we call, my dear students, process consent and informed consent. So those are two different things. When we talk about informed consent, these are the formal letter that we are giving. We ask our participants to sign them. We ask our participants that if you are really interested and you want to be part of our study, we will be giving you this letter. This is a formal letter to make sure that you will be also participating in our study. And we have what we call process consent. We will talk about process consent from the word itself. It is the agreement, internal agreement between the interviewer, the researcher, and the interviewee or the participant that they will be having a mutual agreement that the participant will be part of the study all throughout. So kumbaga, walang pilitan, you need to just ask your participant formally so that he or she will be part of the study na wala kayong nilalabag. Because interview is very important, especially when you conduct qualitative study. So you need to have an informed consent. Next is develop an interview protocol. What do we mean by interview protocol? So these are the questions, these are the informations necessary or the script that you need to do when you conduct your interview. So these are the list of questions, the guide questions, whether that be the basic information necessary to conduct your interview, you need to include that protocol. Next is arrange the audio equipment. Good thing about online interview is that we can also make use na of the recording that is already present in the settings in our teleconferencing app, in our online application. So you can arrange the audio equipment, but again, just like in the video presentation earlier, the audio recording or the video recording should again be included in the informed consent. Upon signing an EU research participant, he or she should be aware that you will be having a recording, and also you will be listing the things that the participant has given, so that everything that you will be conducting, everything that you will be doing should be transparent to our participants. And last is arrange a quiet setting for the interviewee. For the interview, much better if the interviewee will be the one to choose the place. So a comfortable place and a quiet place from the participant will be preferable. So that is the best approach for us to conduct an interview. At the same time, if we conduct an online interview in the convenient time and schedule also of our participant, we can also conduct our interview during if we are already accepted by our participants. So the next step is we conduct our interview. And last is after conducting interview, it is not enough that we just end our interview. We have what we call follow up after an interview. So you may ask your participant or your interviewee that after this we will be sending the transcript of our interview, or we can also send to you the result or the whole study. After we have conducted the study, ihahatag namon ha imo ang result so that you can also see that wala kaming binago sa mga answers mo and all of your answers are transparent. You can also validate if that is correct. So those are the steps of a qualitative research. Is that clear? Am I clear? Are you still with me? You can type 1 if you're still with me. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So next, before we go with our next activity, the question, what do you think will be the content of your interview? Anyone? If we go directly with the interview now, what do you think should be the first thing that you need to do when you conduct an interview?
Sir,
Sige, Mr. Pedraza.
based on the video presentation showed, I think it would also have a introduction, a body, and an ending.
Okay, very good. Just like in other articles or writing an article, you need to have a from approach, and that script will have a content such as your introductory, the interview process, the interview proper, or sometimes you call that body, or the conclusion or the concluding part of your interview. So that is, we have what we call an interview protocol. This is according as well to Creswell 2007. So these are the contents or the step, the protocol you need to have your interview script. So the first is you need to write the basic information about the interview. Isusurat ito ninyo nga what is the name. If the participant would allow you to write the name or to write his or her name, then that is okay. Pero kundiri, we make use of confidentiality again. So that is why we make use of the term pseudonyms or alias. We do not give the name directly if our participants do not want their name to be included. So the basic information about the interview, the date to which the interview will occur, the time, and so on and so forth. Next is the introduction. Here in the introduction, take note of the term establishing rapport. Dito papasok si establishing rapport. Kumbaga, you will be asking your participant, just like the presented video earlier, you need to ask him or her, how was your day? How was your day? How was your work? Then, can you please tell me more about yourself? So on and so forth. Then afterwards, dito na din papasok si opening questions if you have follow-up. Then the content questions. Content questions are the interview questions. So after you give the introduction, you have already said that this will be confidential. And if you want to say something after the interview, feel free to say it, and so on and so forth. Then after that, we go to the interview proper. After conducting an interview, if you are really satisfied with the answers of your participants, then you go with the closing instructions. But mind me, my dear students, mas better sa introduction if you also include how many minutes the interview will go so that the participants will be aware and how many questions should be raised to the participant or to the interviewee. Let's say that you have 5 interviews so that the participant will know that last na inihiya, matatapos na akong interview. Kay para gihap, ang atong interviewee, diri ya magkinulat or diri ya mag-expect nga sugad din kaiha ngayon ang atong interview. Bangin pa ngayon ini mag-abot 30 minutes. So at least, you have already stated earlier that our study or our interview will be conducted for more likely 45 minutes, 1 hour. At least he or she will be prepared. So here is an example of an interview protocol. So you have the background information on the interviewee. That includes the date, the location, the name, or you can also include the year and section, so on and so forth, or other information that is with process consent. That is with agreement between you and the participant. Next is the introduction. So here is an example script for the introduction. Good morning, Mr. De La Cruz. My name is, for your case, you are group, so we are. My name is, or we are the researchers from Samar National School, grade 11. So we are presently conducting a research about grade 11 students' experiences in their basic calculus class. The objective of this study is to gather empirical data and understand their experiences. So you can add more. This is just an example of introduction. So if you go with our content na opening, dito na papasok. So can you tell me about yourself? So you can provide spaces for taking notes. And how long have you been studying here? So take note of these important terms that is in your right side. We have what we call prompts, we have probes, and bracketing. So during our interview process now, which is in the content questions, dito na papasok yung mga interview questions mo, you will be asking, tell me about your basic calculus class. So if you ask for follow-up, that is also what we call probes. So the probes is getting the interviewee to say more about a particular topic. So how do you be able to have probes? Just like what you say, what do you mean by difficult? It's like a hindi na siya included directly sa interview questions mo, but it also answers your objective. So there are instances when we talk about semi-structured, that is why for conversation talaga siya because there is a probing. We have what we call prompts. We have what we call bracketing kung saan yung participant will be able to share the idea confidently. And you will be asking questions with follow-up questions that is related as well to your objective or to your research questions. When we talk about prompts, these are the things that you will be reminding to your participants. And last is we have what we call bracketing. This is very important because in interview, especially if very confidential and very, what you call that, the interview or the study of the title of your study is very is you can relate to the study, especially if you are talking about the experiences of grade 11 students, syempre you can relate. But do not give additional information to the answers of the participants. That is why we have what we call bracketing. We act of the act of suspending judgment. It's as if that we do not know the answers of our participants. It's as if that whether we have assumptions about the answers of our participants about the subject or the interview questions that we had, make use of bracketing. We suspend our judgment. We forget that we have prior knowledge about this topic, or we suspend the judgment so that we will not be influencing our participants or interviewee to give us the answers na atong karuyag. So whether karuyag naton or diri ito nga iyabaton, we just accept because those are the real and authentic informations that we get from our participants. Okay, so you are already done with asking questions, you have already follow up, you have proved, then you are done with the interview questions. It is safe to say that you now go with the closing instructions. You go with first thanking our participants. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Miss, for the time and effort that you have allotted in this interview. I would like you to know that I am the only one who will have the access. So this will also be deleted after the research study. So just like the interview video that was given earlier, if you wish to have a copy as well of the abstract of this research rather, I would be very willing to send you one. Okay, so this is a closing statement that will make sure that the participant is safe, that the participant is confident that she has attended the interview process. So hindi niya pagsisisihan that she has been part of the interview process. Any questions?
Sir.
Okay, so may natutunan? May nakuha na idea?
Yes,
Have,
sir.
have you learned something? Was it clear? Or do
Yes,
you have
sir.
do you have questions
Yes,
or
sir.
additional ideas that you would like to share? Or experiences that you would also like to include? Wala? Okay. So since I guess that you have learned naman, you have said yes naman, before we go with our activity, I would like to ask you, with all of this informed consent, with all of these transcripts, and so on and so forth about the process, the communication, the skills necessary in conducting an interview, what do you think are the subjects or subject areas that can be related to our topic today?
Creative writing, sir.
Yes, Miss Velarde? Pardon?
Creative writing, sir.
Okay, creative writing. Why creative writing?
As you construct your questions po, you will need the skills po in writing, in making the form po, using
Okay.
the language po.
Okay, very good. Diba? When you create your informed consent, especially those that will be seen by professionals, you need to be ready and prepared enough to create those letters. Next is any other idea?
Sir, environmental science.
Yes, Miss Tolo, pardon.
Environmental science, sir.
Okay, environmental science. Why environmental science?
Sir, since some studies, sir, deals or concerned with the physical and biological characteristics of the surroundings in which we live.
Okay, pwede din. Because, for example, if we want to ask about how is it that it occurs like that, we can make use of this process. Okay, any other idea?
Sir, oral
Yes, Mr. Grata.
communication.
Yes, oral communication. Why oral communication?
Sir, because just like in oral communication, uh you are taught to on how to communicate or act or approach in such situations such as an interview, and also you are taught on how to be responsive and sensitive towards other people, especially your participant.
Okay, 'di ba? It is very important as well to develop our communication skills because it is one of the skills necessary when we conduct an interview. And this it is not enough that we just give them the questions. We should also be sensitive towards the information that they give to us. Thank you so much for all of your answers. Indeed, I have seen that you are already prepared and ready. You have embodied the lessons that we have discussed. Now let us go with our activity. So this will be a group activity. So I guess we make use of the groups that we have in our previous class as well. Complete ba ang ibang grupo? Di ba ang ibang grupo? Miss Bilarde, Miss Tolop, ang imo grupo adi bagyap?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so sige. I will be giving you more likely mga 5 to 10 minutes or if you are prepared, we can trim down that to 3 to 5 minutes. I will be giving you time to prepare. What you are going to do is you are going to present we are going to have a mock interview through the use of interview protocol template. So this is a template of interview, and you are going to create interview questions in mother tongue so that we can conduct that here in our locality through the use of the research questions presented. Here is an example of a research title: Perceived challenges and difficulties of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics or STEM students in Samar National School on their academic strand, a phenomenological study. So we have various research questions. We have 3 research questions. What is it like to become a STEM student? What are the contributory factors on how do STEM students evaluate? So based on these research questions, I want you to create an interview questions in mother tongue. Then afterwards, you will be presenting that and we will be evaluating how well have you made your interview protocol. Claro?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you will be evaluated by this rubric. So for the preparation, you will just be given few minutes. Politeness. Include na natin si politeness when you conduct the interview, formatting and editing of the script, the knowledge gained. So afterwards, your script that will be sent to my Google Classroom or the email or my email. Okay, so I will be making a breakout rooms, or you can just communicate through our chat box or through your group chat. I guess you already have your group chat naman. But I will just be opening our breakout rooms. So the breakout room is already open in the left side if you are using your phone, or in the settings. For the group 1, you just need to go to group 1. Group 2, you just need to go to group 2. You just need to go to group 2, group 3, group 4, and so on and so forth. Then afterwards, so to lessen the time as well, because we might be running out of time, what you are going to do is we are just going to choose randomly kung sino yung magpe-present. Then our classmates will be sharing information about what can they say about the presentation of their classmates. Okay, so the breakout room is already open. I will just be giving you mga 5 minutes to prepare. Also, for our process observers, the breakout rooms is open. Ma'am Joy, if you would like to go to the breakout rooms, Sir Melvin and Ma'am Rain, if you would like to go to the breakout rooms to see how the group members prepare for the interview process, you can move to our breakout rooms.
Sir? Hello?
Sir, naka-mute po.
Sorry. I guess we are now ready with our activity na, no? So shall we go? Shall we choose the first presenter to our activity? Who will be the first one to present? Who will be the first one to present? Let us go with the group of Miss Tolo. Okay? Sige. To the group of Miss, ano pa to? Miss Tolo. Ano pa mga group members?
Velarde, sir.
Okay, so I will be moving you to the left side. Nakikita mo na, no? I-move ko ka mo. This is Miss Tolop. Si Miss, ano Velarde? Pare pa Velarde?
Ate na, sir.
Oh, di nga, sorry. Kada ako yung picture, wala ko kakita. Tolop, Velarde, sino pa? Miss?
Si Mr. Habuli, sir. June.
Mr. Habuli. So we have yung Mr. Habuli. Then, Mr. Sino pa?
Hello, sir. Hilo.
Hilo. And then?
Bashera.
Oh, Miles Bashera. Miles Bashera is here. Next is?
Ashala, sir.
Okay, sige. So in the left side, as you can see, andyan yung mga mag-interview. Andyan yung group na magpe-present. In the right side, you are the students who will be observing. So take some notes kung ano yung process na ginawa nila, kung ano yung approach na ginawa nila. Then afterwards, we will be evaluating. Okay? Sige. You may start with a simple introduction about your activity. What will you do? Okay, so you may start with introduction, a simple run through about what will you do. You can also make use of who will be the one to interview and who will be the interviewee. The others will just be taking down notes. Okay, Claro?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sige. The floor is yours.
So, good afternoon, everyone. We are going to present, to present, ano ba ito? The first presenter of this activity. So, our Our interview is Mr. Daniel Hilo, and the interviewer is Miss Velarde nga hinaya ko, tapos Mr. June and Mr. Bashara asyan magti-take down notes while nag-interview kami. So, ma-start na po kami. Mopay nga aga, Mr. Daniel Hilo. Ako Miss Christine Tolop.
And ako ay Miss Mary Joyce Villarde.
And adi kami yan na para makaaruhin kasayuran tungodhan imo mga naabat nga kalisdanan ha imo ginpili na strand nga amoan STEM strand ha Summer National School. Mayada kami didi na pulungay nandam na listahan pakiana nga naglalaom kami nga imo mabatun. Kung diri ka man komportable yan na, igpasabot laha amon para maibalhinan schedulehan interview.
Pwede ba kami mangaro hindi detalye tungod ang imo kalugaringon?
Sige ga. So, atro ako hi Daniel Q. Hilo usa nga mag-aaral aton eskwelahan na Summer National School. So, tikang ka grade 7, ti pa kada grade 10, didaliwat ako umispila. Tapos, I was been part in different organizations sa aton school. Inshallah.
Kay ano ha SNS mo ginpili ng Miss Quila?
To be honest, di rin man talaga yan first choice. But it was really EVR. Pero since an EVR, wala hera tumanggap, tas nag-offer lahat ang summer high nga may dako na hera new curriculum nga with choice and STEM. So, gitanggap ko na la. Kaya amo man lang available nga, di pa ako makakagastuhin dako. Inshallah.
Okay. Ano ni mo experience as a STEM student?
Basing han kung ano an aton situation niya na syempre mawan kita exhausting hiya. Not only physically but also mentally, to be honest la. Ngan definitely kay di ba iba-iba kita nga tao, may kita iba-iba nga sitwasyon, iba-iba tong trabaho. Asya to nayakan ko talaga exhausting nga ako nga part kay nasobrahan ako ang trabaho. Personally nga iba lahat nga mga organs. Amala.
Okay. Ano nag-motivate imo mag-STEM?
Syempre, number one ko ito permi is han akong goals. Goals han akong ano nga kukuha ko nga college degree kun ano nga college degree ako kareg matapos hapag usa nga students like diba under kasi han field han STEM. So amo ito ginpili ko ang STEM para ma-achieve ko ito nga college degree para ma-achieve ko na akong goal. Amala.
Okay. Paano nakabulig ang iyong mga skill and knowledge sa pagpilit STEM strand?
Since we're talking about skills nga knowledge, dida ko gimpili ko tiya kay maaram kasi ako nga bayan hinihiya nga kuan ma-enhance pa hiya. Bayan mas makabulig pa hiya akon. Amo ito.
Pwede mo ba ma-describe ang iyong academic life as a STEM student?
Paano ko ba i-describe? Madi-describe ko hiya in a way kung mag-goal ba or suga dito like so ako nala pag-describe so garon ta nala ma-enjoy kay I na-meet ko na akong mga classmates diri man physically but virtually kay miski virtually kita yan na nagi-enjoy ako kay ano ibang mga students nagi-interact talaga hera aside pa kung may mga projects nagi-get together virtually nga nagi-get to knowing liwat an siya ito ma-enjoy.
Okay. Ano yung mo na-feel nga pwede ma-share yan na nga STEM student ka?
Ano?
Ano yung mo na-feel nga pwede ma-share yan na nga STEM student ka?
Akon ma-share in a way din like masunod nga STEM or tanan naton.
Ano mo na-feel? Generalization, ano mo na-feel as a STEM student?
Sige, thank you. And ako na feel like as a STEM student is pressured. Like, gin-stereotype kasi yan ato society nga pag STEM kailangan dati ka hini nga bagay, dati ka hinikuan. Pero while na pressure man ako, nag-i-enjoy man ako. Wala.
So, ano man ang imong challenges and difficulties nga na-face ya na as a STEM student?
Number one talaga is time management. And second is Wi-Fi. Eh, di ba, may online class kita. Yun siya ito. Tapos more on an activities is online. Yun siya ito.
May mga times ba na nakukuryan ka or nagsisisi ka nga STEM man imo ginkuha nga strand?
Oo, may da. Specifically like kung nag-answer ka o sa nga subject nga nakukuryang ka. May ito.
Ano ang imo ginhimo para ma-overcome mo ang imo mga challenges and difficulties as a STEM student?
Namiling ako alternatives or nga nag-askat ako mga classmates nga mas kaya to nera pero in a way nga bubuligan la ako nera nga makaya ko ito nga diri gud ako ito nga ma-like ma-achieve or pero anera kasi na ako is bubuligan talaga rin ako nera asya na a-achieve ko ang nakukuryang ko nga mga bagay.
That's good. So, hatod na experiences nga imo na share about sa STEM strand, imo ba ini i-recommend ha mga junior high nga interesado mag-STEM? Plus kay ano?
Oo. Aside pa kung maaram kita nga kaya lot tira enhance sini nga atong bag-o nga curriculum nga maram ako nga makuri hiya waray man lat masayon talaga ha pag aram kung maaram ka magpursigido. Kung pursigido ka nga pagka estudyante, makakaya tayo ito. Syempre, i-recommend ko hiya.
Paano mo nakikita mo sarili katapos mo makagraduate in senior high school as a STEM student?
Nakikita ko na akong sarili nga pwede liwat nga prepared na ako to go to college. May daliwat, pero may reservations like natutunga pa ako nga ba hindi pa ako prepared because of the situations kay diri talaga sugad ka effective pa. Kay iba-iba man ang aton learning process sing pa nga. Ay siya ito.
Excuse me. Gusto la namon klaron Mr. Hilo. Ani mo experience as a STEM student kay sugad din exhausting iya kay nasusobran ba trabaho. Is that correct?
Yes po.
Okay. Ngan based liwat hani mo response may nakorean ka or nagkamayda ka challenges nga in regards sa time management ngan Wi-Fi or internet connectivity, correct?
Yes po.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Damo nga salamat Mr. Hylon imo paghatagin oras nga nanimo matinuoran nga mga baton. Makasiguro ka nga ini nga imo ginpanhatag ng mga baton diri magawas sa iba nga ni Camila an may permisyon na gamiton ini. Kung karuyag mo mataganhin kopya ang amon research studies, siguraduhon namon nga matagan ka kopya. Kung may ada ka pa mga pakiana tungod imo katungod bilang usa na research participant, ayo pag-alang na pagpakianaha amon. Salamat.
Sige, damo liwat nga salamat sa iyo.
So, that was the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Okay, congratulations Group 1. Let us give Group 1 a virtual round of applause. Kolani, let us make use of the emoji nga dito. I'm very happy because of your presentation. Indeed, you have made use of the protocol and so on and so forth. But can we ask some of the audience that we have here, your classmates, what can you say about the presentation of Group 1? Miss Latore, what can you say about the presentation of Group 1? Halarom nga matinuoron nga mga baton. Sige, Miss Latore, what can you say? May I ask Mr. Pedraza?
Sir, Sir, nakon po mayayakan is um correct po an era kagamitan abagan ada po tanan may da po era gyapan introduction tapos nag-follow po gyaperan mga ethics when it comes to conducting an interview.
Okay, so na-include man nila nga they have introduced themselves, the ethics, necessary protocols, include gap didaan pag asking permission. Okay, thank you so much. That is a very good observation. Any other idea? What do you think have went too well to the presentation of Group 1? Sige nga. Miss Hinato. Sige, Miss Lakaba, what can you say? You're raising your hand. How about, sige, let us step up. How about Miss Conejos?
Sir, ang gamit po na language is klaro po nga naiintindihan ng tanan, like ang language po natin na mother tongue.
Okay, diba? Mas madali maintindihan kaya ang gingamit is an aton mother tongue, an aton sarili nga dialect. That is good. So what do you think are that, aside from the best practices which you have already stated, the things that went well, ano ang mga pwede natin ma-improve sa era presentation? Anyone? Or perfect na ba? Or may dapat kita pwede ma-improve? Now, Miss Seragay, what can you say? You still with me, Miss Ragay, or can I ask again, Miss Latore? Sige daw, let us ask the presenters themselves. Based on your presentation, what do you think sa tingin niyo is needs to be improved? Or baga, ano iyo pwede ma-improve pa during the interview mismo pag ato na kamo field?
Sir.
Sige.
Sir, Grandpa. Di ba like, dire kasi tanan nga tao is pwede mo hiyahin ka istoryahon ng TOPI. Kailangan mo pa anil at mag-build talaga hiyaan connections. Kailangan mo maging lively as an interviewer po.
Okay, tama. Usa liwat nga bagan pwede niyo ma-approach aside from the fact na very formally, di naman ibig sabihin nga baka formal conversation as an aura is kuan na is very formal. You should also establish rapport, maging conducive an environment. It's as if you are just having a conversation with a purpose. So the purpose is just to gain the information. Baga, okay, gaya pa yung presentation. It's just so very formal, no? Baga na-intimidate gapan iba na kuan na interviewer. Any other idea? Sige daw, kan Miss Tolo.
Sir, kuan sir. Walang kami sir yung mga follow-up questions. Na-direct kami usa pa nga pakiana dayon.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So, may mga mag-additional pa? Any additional information, idea that they would like to share? So, if wala na, let me give my insights as well. So, what went well is that your presentation is very much prepared. So, you have followed strictly the interview protocol. So, you have started with an introduction, you have asked the information of the interviewer, you have asked the permission as well, if you can record, if you can ask the permissions with regards to the details of the participant, and you have asked in a tone nga baga diri ma-intimidate gyapon natong participant. So kumbaga, the participant is confident kaya pag-answer. And then wari ka mo bumaton during iya pagyakan, then that is also good practice. So you let the participant talk lang muna. If you have follow up, di ka na masulod. Then afterwards, you have ended up with, before you end up, you clarified, Anay. I guess si Mr. Habulibato, Mr. Bashera, ang nag-clarify nga, these are your responses. So, utrong ko la, asya ba ng imo baton, so on and so forth. Then tama man, you have asked again follow-up questions. Then you ended up with a concluding statement. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate your effort. Indeed, so on and so forth. And because of that, we just need to have a short improvements, but overall, your presentation is very much very good when it comes to overall presentation. Again, a round of applause to them. So the next presenter, you just since we are running out of time, you just need to submit your scripts na lang to my Google account or to our Google Classroom, ha? You just need to submit them na lang. And then we will try to evaluate them, and tomorrow to our next online class, maybe we can continue with the presentation. Okay? Any questions?
Ano na po, sir?
Any questions?
None po, sir.
Okay, none. Okay, so before we end our discussion, before we end our class, let me ask someone to first have a recapitulation about the topic that we have discussed today. If you have learned something, I hope that you have learned, and to synthesize all the topics and the things that you have able to take during our discussion. So anyone?
Ako na, sir.
Okay, Ms. Tolop, the floor is yours.
And the overall discussion was all about interview. It is a type of conversation that has a purpose. It comes with three types: the structured interview, semi-structured interview, and unstructured interview. So we use interview when we cannot observe behavior, feelings, and events that are impossible to replicate. And in making an interview protocol, first is to know the basic information about the interview. Second is the introduction, where the interviewer introduces himself or herself. Third is the opening question, where this is about getting to know participants so they will feel at ease. Fourth is the content questions. These are the sub-questions being studied. And fifth, the closing instructions. This is the part where you thank the interviewer, your participant, for his or her time. And when doing an interview, avoid asking very personal questions. That's also.
Okay, thank you so much. Very comprehensive indeed. Thank you for wrapping up the discussion that we've had. And I hope that everyone also has their own take-ins and their own knowledge and insights they gained from our discussion. So thank you so much again, Ms. Tolop, for that synthesis of our lesson. Very good. Let us give again everyone a round of applause using the emoji that we have in our Zoom meeting. And now, as we move on with our discussion, okay, I want you to talk with your group in your research na. Talk to your group mates in your research and discuss with each other about your plan in conducting your interview na. So in this time, I want you to go with your group na mismo in your research, then plan ahead about the informed consent that you will be having. Create the interview questions na based on your study, based on your research questions. Then the script of your interview will be sent to me through Google Classroom, okay? I want you to send your forms, your interview consent, your interview consent, your process consent through Google Classroom. Your interview questions as well. I want you to send that to me through our Google Classroom or through my email, which is already sent in our Google Classroom or Facebook page. Also in our Messenger, if you can send that. Okay, Claro?
Yes, sir.
Okay, for your assessment, I have already sent as well the activity HAEU through Google Classroom. And that is through quizzes. So I have opened ito niya. Nakikita ang screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so ito niya nga quiz that is open until tomorrow at 3 same time gap. At 24 hours ito niya open. So you just need to send that into our Google Classroom so that you can already see after taking, makikita dayon niyo ang iyo scores. And you can also check in our Google Classroom adiya dida an aton quiz which is entitled evaluation. And lastly, for your assignment, wait lang, hindi ko makita. Okay, so for your assignment, you need to submit here your interview protocol script. The script will be submitted here, but also in our application earlier, in the activity earlier that I have given, you create your interview questions muna. Before you create your interview script or the whole protocol, you need to have the interview questions. Then afterwards, we will be checking it. Then I will be sending to you. After sending it to my Google Classroom, to our Google Classroom, i-evaluate ito natin if you can already go to the field and conduct an interview. Okay, klaro?
Yes, sir.
Yes po, sir.
Okay. Do you have any more questions?
None, sir.
Okay, nag-enjoy ba ka mo?
Yes, sir.
I hope nag-enjoy ka mo. And I also enjoyed our discussion this afternoon. But thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate, regardless of the weather that we have today, the situation that we have. I hope everyone is safe. And thank you so much for your participation and the learnings that you have had. Please make use of that. Kasi it is not only in my subject, but you can also integrate that into other subjects, just like what we have did earlier. Again, thank you so much for your time, and I also would like to appreciate the time and effort of our process observers who are here, Ma'am Josefina Tilagrosa, for attending this online class this afternoon. Thank you so much po, ma'am. Sir Melvin Salazar, our senior high school group head of General Academic Strand, and Ma'am Rain for the HUMS, Humanities and Social Sciences group head. Okay, can we say thank you to them as well?
Thank you po.
Thank you po.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. And
Thank you. Thank you. Keep safe.
okay, thank you again. Keep safe, and it's been a pleasure seeing you all around. And goodbye, everyone. Keep safe. You can leave now.
Thank you, sir.
Goodbye, sir.
Thank you po,
Goodbye.
sir.
Thank you, sir. Goodbye,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Goodbye po. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much.